Hello and Equipment War here, and welcome to my build guide for my updated version of my Dual Wield Duelist. I'm gonna go through my passive skill tree first, then I'm gonna talk about my skill gems, and then my gear. If you have any questions about any of it, feel free to ask me in the comments. So let's get started by talking about my passive skill tree. So the first thing I'm gonna talk about in my passive skill tree is that I ascend it to a Slayer, mainly for a reason that I can take Overhelm. I think I pronounced that wrong. And this note is amazing because it sets the base crit chance for my attack with weapons is 8. So I don't need to use any currency or really expensive weapons to get some good crit chance. And when you're using swords, getting high crit chance on swords are not the most easiest thing to get. It also gives a good amount of critical strike multiplier by nearby enemies, and nearby enemies have minus. So it gives some bit of protection. And then I went for impact, to get some good AoE damage, and also some accuracy. I went for a more defensive option and going for the brutal favor and endless hunger to get some really nice amount of leech. If you want to go a more offensive approach, you can go for Bane of Legends and Henchman to get even more damage to your enemies. But let's take a look at the actual skill tree now. I'm going to have a link in the description to where you can find the passive skill tree, so you can look at it if you want to. I started by taking the physical damage in the beginning, and then I took the attack speed and accuracy here. I went for the attack speed wheel here, and took the armor evasion life here, because I really want some more attack speed in this build. I also took Art of the Gladiator, I went for bravery, and then I went for Master Arena. I took Devilish, which I think I pronounced wrong. Here you have an option. You can take this Yule socket here if you want to, and then you can use Might and Influence. I think I have the unique Yule on screen right now, because my main skill are Dual Strike. So if you want to use Dual Strike, you can use that Yule, and if you can use that Yule, you can have it on this socket here, right here. I also took Golem's Blood and Cloth and Chain. Went down here, then you have an option. You can either go this way here and go to the other side, or this way here. I recommend going for the red area first. So here is my main source of leech for this build, which is, I can't pronounce this. I also took the mastery one here to get the 10% of leeches instant. I have disembowering to get some a nice amount of critical strike chance, critical strike multiplier, and chance to maim when I crit an enemy. And by the way, before I forget it, you can take Iron Reflexes, which makes your choose of armor easier, because then you can take Invasion Gear if you want as well, and it will count as armor for you. So you can take Iron Reflexes if you have a lot of gear on you, which actually gives evasion. So it's a good option. I have Blade of Conning, which I think I also pronounced wrong, and also took the Sword Mastery right here. I took this one to get some crit chance, by the way. I have Tribal Fury, which means my melee attacks will do splash damage to my surrounding enemies. Essentially, it gives me a good amount of AoE, and that's why I prefer to go this way here, so I can take this note here fast. It makes my dual strike into an AoE. I took another life wheel here, and I took a life mastery here, so I can get that 50% extra to maximum life. Went all the way up here to take the sword wheel and the marauder area, which is Razor's Edge, and Blade Master. And I also took Juggernaut for some extra defense. Let's move to the other side of the tree, which is the green side. I call it the green side, the dexterity side. I went all the way here. I took Swagger to get some good amount of block chance against attacks when dual winning. Also give me a chance to gain a frenzy charge when I block, which is nice. I took the Duelist Dual Wield Wheel here. And I took Amber Dexterity and Blade Barrier. I didn't take the Dual Wielding Mastery here because I didn't find any one of these notes here except one, the one down there. But I didn't take any one of these notes here. I took the Twin Terror note here, and here I took actually the Dual Wield Mastery one. And you can see I have the one chance to meme enemies with my main hand, and chance to blind enemies with my offhand. I have Thick Skin for some more protection. I went all the way up here, took the The range shows Sword Wheel here, and I took Brutal Blade and Fatal Blade. You have an option to take Sword Master here if you want to. I also took Herbalism for some more life, and I went for Accuracy for some more attack speed and accuracy. And I went for Heartseeker to get a good amount of critical strike multiplier. And that's pretty much my skill tree. If you have any questions about my skill tree, or you want to see it for yourself, I have a link in the description to where you can find it. And before I forget that, when it comes to the bandits, I just killed all of the bandits and took the 2 passive skill points. So let's talk about skill gems. I'm gonna start by talking about my damage skill gem, which is in this case our Dual Strike. And Dual Strike are supported by Fortify, Critical Strike Damage, Brutality, Chance to Bleed, and Melee Physical Damage. One important thing is that Brutality means that you will only do physical damage. No chaos damage, no elemental damage. You will only do pure physical damage when using this Duel. If you change this out for another one, you will do other types of damage as well. Just so everyone know that. And it is possible to use something like Cleave instead of Dual Strike if you prefer that skill over Dual Strike instead. For my auras and mana reservations, I'm using Blood and Sand. I'm also using Pride, and I'm using Herald of Purity. Pride means that the enemies around you will take more physical damage. I'm using 2 movement skill, which is Leap Slam and Whirling Blades. And they are both supported by faster attack, so I can use them faster, obviously. I'm also using Blood Rage to get some nice extra attack speed and a good amount of life leech. And it also gives me frenzy charges when I kill enemies, which is really nice. I do really love the triggered melee skills, so I'm using 2 of them. I'm using Riposte. They do quite a bit of damage, but I just like this skill. And Riposte are supported by Maim and melee physical damage. And I'm also using Vengeance together with melee physical damage, life leech, and life on hit. And I'm also using a little cost and damage taken setup, which is a level 1 cost and damage taken and increased duration, and they are supporting a Warlord's Mark. So if I take damage, the enemy around me will be cursed by Warlord's Mark, and they give me a good amount of life leech and also some mana leech. And also give me a chance to get an endurance counter when I kill enemies. Anyway, that's pretty much my skill gems. If you have any questions about my skill gem, please let me know. And now it have comes to items. Let's start by talking about the weapons. For your weapons, you want as high as you can get attack speed and physical damage. That's the most important thing. Attack speed and physical damage. The crit chance doesn't matter because of your skill point in the skill tree, which means that all of your weapons will have 8 in base critical strike chance. For your helmet, just get a helmet with as much as you can get life and the resistance you need, and as good armor as you can get. For your rings and amulets, you want life and resistance, and physical damage and or attack speed. Some accuracy is kind of nice too. And also some stats that you might be lacking, like intelligence or dexterity. And also try to get, as like this ring, it have 0.22% of physical damage is leached as mana. That's why I don't need any mana leech in the skill tree. It's because I have a ring like this. If I remember right, a mod like this also exists on gloves. So try to get physical damage leached as mana as well on some of your items. For my gloves, I'm just using this pair of spike gloves because they give me a bit of melee physical damage. But in your gloves you want life and the resistance you need. Also try to get some physical damage on your gloves and maybe some attack speed if you really want some better damage from your gloves. For your belt, I'm just using this easy belt here. It just have really nice life and resistance. And also it's a rustic sash, which I probably pronounced as wrong, which also increases my physical damage. For my pair of boots, you want movement speed, the resistance you might need, and some life. You higher life, you better. And also as good as you can get armor. For my chest armor, I'm currently using a Belly of the Beast because it gives an excellent amount of life. But you can just use a rare armor instead, and if you're going for rare armor, just use an armor which has as high as possible armor value and life on it. And also the resistance you might need. For my flask, I am using this flask here. It's a stanching flask. Increased recovery rate. And another increased recovery rate and also removes bleeding. I'm using a Lion's Roar for some extra damage. Also using a sulfur flask, if I say that right, which create consecrated ground, increases my damage, another fun thing. Also using this basalt flask here for some protection. The flask are not that super important, this is just some cheap flask I created or found myself. And that's pretty much my items. If you have any questions about my items, please let me know in the comments. And that was my build guide for my Dual Wield Duelist. If you have any questions about this build, or questions in general about this build, just ask them in the comments. And in the description I'm going to have a link to where you can find the passive skill tree. Overall, I hope you guys like this video, and thank you all for watching.